Hi everyone, it's me again, Renz B. Brizo, a second year of Bachelor of Science in Customs Administration college student studied at University of Cebu Lapu-Lapu and Mandawi, and this is the last video for video recorded discussion. May I present to you my presentation for today, and that is all about the miscellaneous provisions and harbor regulations related to customs of CMO or Customs Memorandum Order No. 22 Series of 2010, or also known as the Revised Customs Port Operations Manual. So, the only learning objective for this video, which is to be able to know all about what's miscellaneous provisions and harbor regulations related to customs of Customs Memorandum Order CMO No. 22 Series of 2010, or the Revised Customs Port Operations Manual. So, at the end of this video, you can rest assured that you will have grasped all of the concepts that I outlined earlier. So now, without any further ado, let's get started. So this is the table of contents for miscellaneous provisions, and it consists of 26 sections. And for the harbor regulations related to customs, it consists of 10 harbor regulations. So now, I will be tackling first all about the miscellaneous provisions. Section 20, Certificate for Quarantine Cargo. It said that when cargo manifested for any port in the Philippines is retained on board the importing vessel by order of the quarantine officer, or any other officer authorized to issue such an order, the customs inspector on board shall make a certificate of constructive lading as to the bill of lading after verifying said cargo. Section 21, Use of boarding watercraft. It said that except for customs inspectors and customs guards legally assigned to boats to be boarded, the customs senior boarding officer shall not allow anybody to accompany the customs boarding watercraft as it departs from the port. Customs inspectors and customs guards assigned by the Chief Bay Service Section or its comparable office to fill in for missing personnel, as well as those specifically authorized in writing by the Chief Piers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office, may use the boarding watercraft. Section 22, Baggage Declaration Entry. It said that incoming passengers must show a properly completed baggage declaration to the customs inspector on board, or the customs examiner or appraiser upon boarding the vessel. In the baggage declarations, an itemized enumeration of the articles purchased abroad, stating amount and the accompanying invoice price, is required. Articles, crafts, products, merchandise, and any. Section 23, Vessel Clearing for Foreign Ports Applying for Bunkers. The customs inspector on board of a vessel clearing for foreign ports and applying for bunkers shall require the master thereof to transmit together with his application the usual affidavit, containing the following. And these are 1. Name and nationality of vessel. 2. Amount of fuel oil available on board for its propulsion at time of entry. 3. Vessel's daily consumption of oil at sea. 4. Vessel's daily consumption of oil in port. 5. Port or ports of call during the voyage and duration of vessel stay at each port. And 6. The amount of bunkers applied for. Section 24. Unloading of cargo by distressed vessel. It said that on the written request of the master or agent, approved by the collector of customs under such terms and conditions as he may deem proper, a distressed vessel in port desiring to unload cargo for the duration of the vessel's sojourn there may be issued a permit to discharge her cargo for the duration of the vessel's sojourn there. If the cargoes discharged are cleared or admitted in the port where they are discharged, the unloading of this kind of cargo must follow the same laws and regulations as commodities bound for the port. Unless a shipside discharge permit is issued, such cargoes must be unloaded to the pier. If fired into lighters, the lighters must be closed, secured, locked, and sealed with the customs seal, and they must be kept under guard until final disposition. Section 25, Ship's Mail. It said that all mail addressed to anyone other than the vessel's agents must be presented to the postal clerk, and all mail addressed to persons other than the vessel's agents must be examined while it is being taken from the ship. Any dutiable products or merchandise found in the postal bags, other than mail, will be subject to duties and taxes, as well as confiscation. Section 26, Laborers and Ship's Laundry. It said that upon exiting the vessel, all stevedores, laborers, and other personnel of similar status must be carefully searched by or under the direct supervision of a customs inspector on board. Any person detected with stolen goods or anything not permitted for discharge on his person will be detained. The inspector shall prepare a list for bundles of clothing, ship's linen or laundry, etc., that are to be taken ashore for laundering, and upon their return on board, check them against the list so that the corresponding duties and/or taxes can be assessed and collected on those unaccounted for before the vessel sails. Section 27. Seizures. It said that a receipt specifying the articles taken shall be delivered by the customs inspector or customs guard making the seizure to the owner or claimant, and if unclaimed, to the master of the vessel. He must send the seized articles, along with the seizure report and transfer letter, to the Chief, Piers and Inspection Division, as soon as possible or its equivalent office. Section 28. Arrests. It said that when searching a vessel or any person on board, the customs inspector or customs guard on board is permitted and required to search, arrest, and even detain any individual caught doing an act or acts in violation of the law, in accordance with the law. When a person is captured in such circumstances, the customs inspector on board conducts an informal investigation, following which the individual arrested, along with the evidence, is handed over to the Enforcement and Security Service (ESS) for further action. Section 29. Small boats alongside vessels. It said that small boats that have been granted permission by the Philippine Ports Authority to provide ferry services may be allowed to approach the vessel, while a small boat, launch, or any other watercraft is alongside. A customs guard must be present at all times, and it must be properly checked before being allowed to go. Section 30. Customs guards for vessels lying alongside. It said that when another vessel is moored alongside a vessel, the customs inspector must assign a customs guard to ensure that no illicit articles or products are transferred from one vessel to the other. This task will be rotated so that the vessel is constantly monitored until it departs. Section 31. Heaving anchor and sail. It said that the customs inspector on board must enable the vessel to heave anchor and sail after receiving a notification of clearance. However, if the ship does not leave and remains in port for more than 48 hours after the time of departure indicated in the clearance, the master or agent must obtain from the customs clearance officer an extension of time for departure. Failing which, the original clearance will be null and void. Section 32. Repair of vessel equipment. It said that the landing of sails, casks, chronometers, and other parts of the vessel's equipment for the purpose of having them repaired shall be permitted upon the filing of a bond or under guard. Section 105 of the Tariff and Customs Code of the Philippines, as amended, guaranteeing their re-exportation and approval by the collector of customs. The customs inspector must explain the products or equipment that have been released in sufficient detail to allow for easy and quick identification when they are returned. Section 33. Conversion of vessel status. A. From foreign to coastwise. Vessels of foreign status may be converted to a coastwise status after the following requirements are fully complied with and submitted to the collector of customs through the customs clearance officer. As prerequisite to the issuance of clearance: 1. Certification from the concerned office of the Bureau that importantry had been filed and duties and taxes had been paid and/or secured to be paid. 2. Certification of conversion issued by the Maritime Industry Authority. 3. Certification from the Chief, Piers and Inspection Division in Chief, Bay Service Section or their equivalent offices with the Enforcement and Security Service (ESS) as member of the searching team that the vessel has been fully searched for contraband cargoes indicating therein the result of the searching mission. 4. Certification from the shipping agency attested by the customs inspector on board that all foreign cargoes are fully discharged from vessel. 5. Inventory list of ships, stores and saloons and crew declaration list shall be duly accomplished, signed by the master of the vessel and attested by the customs inspector on board. Such vessel shall be subject to continuous underguarding until final clearance is issued by the office of the deputy collector for operations. B. From coastwise to foreign. Vessels of coastwise status may be converted to a foreign status subject to the following requirements: 1. Certification of conversion issued by the Maritime Industry Authority. 2. Duly processed export declarations or permits. Section 34. Letters to collector. It said that all letters addressed to the collector of customs in the custody of the vessel must be collected by the customs senior boarding officer and sent to the customs house as soon as possible. Section 35. Refuse and garbage. It said that inside any harbor, no rubbish, garbage, or the like shall be thrown or jettisoned, especially while the ship is alongside piers. After consultation with the Philippine Coast Guard and/or the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, all damaged and rotten cargo shall be disposed of with the collector of customs consent and at the location designated by said official or duly authorized agent denner. In addition, master of vessels wishing to load or discharge ballast must first acquire authorization from the collector of customs or the port surveyor and must follow the harbor master's instructions as to where the ballast should be obtained from or released, as the case may be. Section 36. Firearms, care, and use. It said that when it comes to the usage of guns, caution is advised. It is against the law to exhibit firearms in an unnecessarily public manner. Employees should keep in mind that the law will hold them personally liable for the consequences of their use of firearms. A weapon should only be drawn or used in self-defense or to prevent a felony from being committed, while it is not intended for an officer or employee to put his or another's life in jeopardy when danger is present. It is expected that he will respond with utmost caution and cool thought. In addition, officers and workers are not permitted to carry firearms while on duty unless they have received extensive training in the safe handling and use of such weapons. The Chief, Piers and Inspection Division or its similar position will check all guns on a regular basis to ensure that they are in good working order. Section 37. Instructions relative to discharging, withdrawal, and loading of empty containers. When it comes to discharging of empty containers, it said that prior to the discharge of empty containers, the shipping agent must provide a copy of the approved sequence of discharge and a separate listing of empty containers to be discharged from the carrying vessel to the Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent office for monitoring and aging purposes. When it comes to withdrawal of empty containers, it said that for the empty container to be removed from the dock, the shipping agent must submit a letter request to the Chief, Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent agency. The Deputy Collector for Operations, the Chief, Enforcement Security Service ESS, and the Chief, Piers and Inspection Division will get copies of the request once it has been granted, as well as the permit to withdraw. Additionally, for the granting of the gate pass, the original copy of the accepted request with the withdrawal permit must be given to the wharfinger in charge. At the exit gates, customs gatekeepers and customs ESS personnel must open all empty containers to check that they are actually empty, preserve records of the approved requests or permits issued, and report any discrepancies to their respective chiefs of offices. When it comes to loading of empty containers, it said that prior to the loading of empty containers on board carrying vessel, the shipping agent concerned shall apply for a special permit to load SDL. The Chief, Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent office shall ensure that the empty containers specified therein have already been duly inspected. Section 38. Instructions relative to the withdrawal of shutout containerized export. 1. Withdrawal of shutout containerized export cargoes. All applications for the withdrawal of shutout containerized export cargo shall be directly filed with the Chief or its equivalent office. Spot checking of the contents of the subject containers shall no longer be required, but instead the following precautionary measures shall be undertaken. In the application to withdraw shutout containerized export cargo shall be accompanied at all times by the following, and these are: 1. Certification of the shipping agent concerned attesting to such fact, to an equipment interchange receipt iron, and 3. A copy of export declaration or permit or inquiry. B. The spot checking shall be confined only to determine whether the original shipping agent seal affixed after the stuffing operations is intact. C. In case the containerized export cargoes are deliveries from a which fact shall be indicated in the application, the same shall not be withdrawn, unless accompanied by a customs guard who shall guard the same until the shipment is received by the assigned customs warehouseman customs storekeeper at the CBW. The Chief, Customs Container Control Division or its equivalent office shall coordinate with the Chief, Bonded Warehouse Operating Division concerned for the underguarding requirements. Each CBW operating division should have a complete file of all active and accredited members obtained from each CBW operating division. Section 40. Devanning, stripping, and stuffing. It said that the consignee must make a formal request for devanning, stripping, and stuffing to the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office, who will then propose it to the Deputy Collector for Operations for approval. Section 41. Direct-to-truck transfer. It said that consignee or customs broker must submit a formal request to the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or equivalent office for direct transfer of container or cargo from vessel to truck, which will then propose approval to the Deputy Collector for Operations. Section 42. Overtime permit. It said that, other than the regular activities listed in this manual, all requests for overtime work by Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office personnel must be recommended by the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent office and approved by the Deputy Collector for Operations. Section 43. Discharging of vessel sludge. It said that all requests for the discharge of vessel sludge must be approved by the Deputy Collector for Operations after being suggested by the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent agency. The Customs Examiner will collect a sample of sludge from the Formal Entry Division or its similar office for examination reasons. Section 44. Bunkering permit. It said that the Chief, Peers and Inspection Division or its equivalent agency must propose all requests for vessel bunkering or refueling to the Chief, Port Operations Service, Assessment and Operations Coordinating Group for approval. And for this part, I will be tackling all about the harbor regulations related to customs. In vessel entering port, it said that all vessels entering any port of entry or coastwise in the Philippines must display their colors and signal their official numbers or letters, which must remain visible until the vessel is boarded by the right authorities. Within 2 miles of the authorized quarantine anchorage, all vessels must display the aforementioned signals. Additionally, when mail is to be discharged, the vessel must notify the port authorities as soon as possible using the prescribed signal. When it comes to flag signals or calls, 1. At the Philippine ports of entry, signals will be responded to and from the customs house or pilot signal tower. 2. The following signals or calls shall be used in all Philippine ports of entry. A. Customs International Code Flag C and C. At night 3 or for short blasts of whistle and waving of a light. B. Quarantine International Code Flag Q at the 4. C. Pilot International Code Flag G or PT. Always remember of these 3 when night. 1. The pyrotechnic light, commonly known as a blue light, every 15 minutes. 2. A bright white light, flashed or shown at short frequent intervals just above the hull for about a minute at a time. Or 3. The International Code Signal PT by flashing light. D. Explosives or inflammables International Code Flag B at the 4. Medical Assistance International Code Flag or Customs Call. F. Contagious or Infectious Disease International Code Flags EZEC. Death Customs and Quarantine Calls or International Code Flags E and L. H. Distress by day, International Code Flags and C. Or gun or other explosive signals, fired at intervals of about a minute, or the distress signal consisting of a square flag having either above or anything resembling a ball. At night, 1. A gun or other explosive signal fired at intervals or about a minute, to flames on the vessel as from burning, tar, barrel, oil barrel, etc. Or 3. Rockets or shells, throwing stars of any color or description, fired one at a time, at short intervals. I. Mill International Code Flag Y. J. Waterboat International Code Flags RCQ or FUK. Good ES's Customs Cal. Harbor Master International Code Flags GYT. M. Maneuvering International Code. When it comes to quarantine requirements, it said that deaths, illnesses, or accidents involving physical injury to any person on board a vessel in a harbor must be notified immediately to the customs collector and the quarantine officer. When it comes to repair or dry docking of vessels, it said that, without the authorization of the collector of customs or the deputy collector for operations, no repairs except minor ones shall be allowed on any vessel in a port, as well as its transfer to a designated place of dry docking. and it shall be subject to continuous underguarding until final clearance. The following documents that are required for dry docking, and these are searching and inventory report. B. Approval from the Office of the Deputy Collector for Operations. C. Certification from contractor scope of work and duration of repair. In sunken vessel, it said that when any sunken vessel, boat, watercraft, or other similar obstruction obstructs the navigation of any harbor or navigable river tributary thereto for more than 30 days, or when abandonment can be established in a shorter period of time, the sunken vessel, boat, watercraft, or other obstruction may be broken up, removed, sold, or otherwise disposed of by the collector of customs at the owner's expense. In lighters or tugs and other watercraft, it was stated there that lighters shall not be tied nor removed from alongside a vessel without permission of the customs inspector on board such vessel. It means that without onyafte consent of thicus, lighters may not be attached or withdrawn from alongside a vessel. In police authority performed by customs officers, persons breaking customs, immigration, and navigation laws and regulations, as well as those committing crimes or breaking the peace, can be arrested within harbor limits by custom agents. Such an arrest must be immediately reported to their superior officer. Anyone who assaults, refuses, opposes, or interferes in any way with a customs officer while he is performing his duties is accountable and subject to the legal consequences. In rat guards, it said that vessels of foreign or Philippines registry are required to take proper precautions to prevent rodents from getting aboard. Rat guards, as prescribed, shall be fixed on all connecting lines and all cargo nets, chutes, and other devices between the vessel and shore structure must be removed at night unless in actual use. Finally, we are now in the last PowerPoint for this video. So, in other special anchorages, it said that similarly, unless specifically allowed by the collector of customs, all other boats and watercrafts are forbidden from anchoring or lingering near any vessel, whether tied at a pier or anchored in the harbor at a distance of less than 50 meters from said vessel. When it comes to specific regulation, it said that no empty lighters or carriers shall lie alongside a Philippine government pier or a vessel moored thereto at night, nor shall empty lighters or carriers be attached to such pier or vessel by cables or ropes, nor shall empty lighters or carriers be attached to loaded or partly loaded carriers which may be alongside or fastened to such pier or a vessel. Then, empty lighters or carriers that are parked alongside or attached to the pier or vessel during the day must be removed before nightfall. The provisions of paragraphs 1 and 2 above do not apply to carriers carrying imports that are partially loaded to export cargo or to empty ships that have been prepped or are in the process of being readied. Indeed, when a case of disease arises on board, and a vessel or their watercraft in yellow and keep it flying until boarded and cleared by a quarantine bureau inspector, the flag must be large enough and arranged in such a way that it is clearly visible. So that's it for today, and I hope all of you have learned something about this video entitled Miscellaneous Provisions and Harbor Regulations Related to Customs of CMO, or Customs Memorandum Order No. 22-2010, or the Revised Customs Port Operations Manual. Thanks for watching and listening my all videos since part 1. Stay safe and God bless us all.